I used to believe so much fitness nonsense before I became a coach. All these different myths and lies that I'm going to expose to you today so that you don't make the same mistakes as me. So let's get into it. Number one is I used to think that you had to train all the time to get the best results. I used to think that you need to be in the gym every single day for 2 hours a time to be able to get the results, to be able to get the same kind of physique, all these influences that you see. And damn, I was horribly wrong. And I even went through a period where I was training twice per day whilst I was at uni because I thought this was the right thing to do. I remember seeing one of my influencers that I used to follow on Snapchat, and he was training twice per day. He was doing all these like fancy splits. So I used to think, oh yeah, I'll do the same. It's only very shortly after I realized that this guy was taking a lot of steroids, a lot of gear, and I realized that his capability of training and recovery is probably a little bit apart from where mine is. And that's when I had that slight change in mindset. So you don't need to train every day. And I would recommend for anyone that is a natural lifter that you make sure you have a rest day every third or fourth day, which means that you don't train consecutively for longer than that. Training every day is the worst thing you can do. And to be honest, if you can train every day and you feel like you can sustain that and you feel okay, here's a reality check. You're probably not training hard enough. You're probably training like a bit of a pansy, and there's probably a lot more that you can give in those sessions. Now, we recommend to our clients, they train to get the best results. For most of them, probably 4 times per week. The ones that have got the time and really love the training, they could probably get away with 5. But the reality is there's probably not much more in doing anything more than that. And the actual benefit that you get in terms of the change in regards to the kind of potential that you would reach and the progression in terms of training from say like 4 to 6, pretty minimal. The trade-off is not worth it in my opinion. So make sure you prioritize recovery, make sure you prioritize your sleep. The days that you have off from the gym are arguably more important than the days that you actually go to the gym, because this is the days that your body is actually starting to recover. You know, after you tore down those muscle fibers, they're then going to grow back stronger. So those rest days are super important. So as I say, my rule of thumb is this: make sure that every third or every fourth day you have a rest day. You don't need to train every day. And say it's the biggest myth in the fitness industry. Prioritize your rest days and make sure you build a training schedule that works around you. Myth number 2, one of my favorites: spot reducing fat. Again, I used to genuinely believe that you could target fat loss. I used to be there trying to get the most chiseled six-pack possible, doing tons of crunches, doing tons of sit-ups, doing all these like leg raises all the time, because I genuinely used to think this is how we managed to spot reduce, you know, to get rid of that little stubborn belly fat that kind of just sits over your stomach at the moment that stops you from seeing your abs. I used to think that doing more abs would make that work. And I speak to guys every single day that do the same. I speak to guys that do sit-ups before they go to bed. You know, they try and train their arms more so they can get rid of the bingo wings. This is not how it works. You can't spot reduce body fat, and the only way you can lose body fat is for being in a calorie deficit. This is going to be most likely through your diet, but also helped from your kind of daily activity and stuff as well. So don't think that you can target certain areas. This is not how it works in terms of fat loss. The biggest myth that you can get in the fitness industry. You don't even need to use those stupid ab toner belts or any other bullshit that you see. It is very, very simple when it comes to losing body fat, and that is being within a calorie deficit and being consistent. If you do this for enough time, you're going to lose weight, you're going to lose fat, and you're going to get to the position that you want to be in. Unfortunately, we all have stubborn areas. And now typically for guys, it is your stomach, it is your belly. This is where you carry the most amount of fat. Often as well, you love handles and even around your chest as well. I often see this quite a stubborn area for guys. They've got the kind of last little bit of chest fat that's stopping them from having those nice chiseled pecs like Arnie. It takes time, but if you stay consistent with your diet, you will get there. For girls, that's often the lower half that they start to struggle with. The quads, the glutes, the hamstrings, they often carry a little bit more fat, again, before we start to really build those nice peachy glutes and those nice chiseled legs. So it takes time, but there is no trick to doing it. And I would never say to someone, oh, train this muscle group more and you're going to see more benefit. Yes, you can get stronger, you can build more muscle in those areas, but in terms of the fat that is covering the areas that you want to reveal at this moment in time, you cannot spot reduce. So don't believe that you could do that. Focus on your diet. There is no reason why you can't keep losing body fat. There's no reason why you will stop losing body fat if you're in a calorie deficit. Yes, it gets harder, but you will still continue to do that. You just have to remain consistent. You have to be disciplined, and you have to see it through. Most people give up before they were maybe 4 or 5 weeks away from starting to see a six-pack because they just kind of, you know, had enough and it wasn't for them anymore. So you have to make sure you stay consistent. Don't ever feel like you can spot reduce. This is an absolute BS myth from the fitness industry. Number 3, this is one that most people still seem to suffer from, and that is the thought that carbs make you fat. Carbs do not make you fat. Now, again, I genuinely remember that I used to stop having carbs no later than 6 p.m. because I was like, if I have carbs by 6 p.m., that's going to be stored as fat. I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to gain maybe a pound of body fat. You know, I used to genuinely think that just eating salads and egg whites all the time was the way that I'd be able to get a six-pack. And if I had carbs, it was really bad. Again, absolute BS. Since becoming more educated as a coach and working with more clients, I started to realize that carbs are pretty important and they're our body's #1 energy source. We use glycogen in order to be able to perform, in order to be able to, have great workouts, to have energy every single day, to run, to be able to do the things that we want to do. So if we take away that, you're not going to have any energy. Yes, you can get yourself into some kind of keto adapted state over time, but for 99% of people, this is not what you want to do. You have a very boring, restricted life on ketosis. It's very limited when you go and eat out with your friends. It's very limited when you go on holiday. And even to get yourself into ketosis, it's hard. It's not easy. You have to go through quite a tough process, which I've done once in my life, which is hard to be able to get there. You have to drop carbs very aggressively, and I mean go really low on carbohydrates to be able to even get to ketosis, which is a place that a lot of people can't even achieve. So look, stop making it complicated. You can have carbs, they don't make you fat. And if you fuel carbs properly and time them strategically around your workouts and around your day, they will blow up your physique. They will help you train, they'll give you energy, they'll allow you to build more muscle. Carbs improve our body's response to insulin, and insulin is one of the most anabolic hormones when it comes to building muscle. So if we time carbs around our workouts, we will be able to build more muscle. And if we make sure we're in a calorie deficit, we're still gonna lose fat. So there is no reason why you can't have carbs in your diet. Guess what? Carbs taste good. A lot of our favorite foods have carbohydrates in them. I could not live without oats, couldn't live without rice, couldn't live without things like pizza or bread. I like these things sometimes. So for me to be able to give these up entirely, it's not gonna work. So do not believe that carbs make you fat, because they don't. You can enjoy them. It's just knowing how to be able to structure them into your life to get the most amount of benefit. Number 4, this is probably one of the ones that I was the most guilty of when I was younger, like all boys were. And that is that supplements are necessary to get you results. I wasted so much money on supplements. All these fancy things that I genuinely thought worked, which I did not need to be spending the money on. There are a very limited amount of supplements that actually work in terms of research and actually looking into the studies and looking into the data. Things like BCAAs, fat burners, all these things, they are not necessary when it comes to getting in amazing shape. They're just a waste of money. They're draining your bank account and you don't need to take them. They're almost just a distraction because you feel like by taking them, they're going to get you better results. There are certain supplements, there are a few supplements that I probably would recommend that can help most people. But again, we're talking about the last maybe 10% or even 5% of really what's going to get you results, okay? Most of your results will come down to you eating the right foods, a good whole food, nutritious diet, training hard, progressive overload, eating enough protein, recovering, sleep, steps, all these fundamentals. Supplements, they are going to be the last few percent. Now, I thought for years I needed to take all these fancy supplements, and I went onto my protein, all these, fancy websites, buying all these ones, and they didn't really make that much of a difference, okay? Weren't necessary. So realistically, if I was to say maybe 5 supplements that I think most people would benefit from when you've got the fundamentals in place, probably be creatine monohydrate, which does genuinely work. It's very good in terms of it's scientifically backed. It does improve performance and there's no negative effects. Number 2 would be some kind of whey protein, preferably something that's isolate, because that's going to be a bit more pure and it also is kind of slightly higher protein intake in terms of the kind of breakdown of it. This is just for most people because it's easier to have a protein shake, and I think a lot of people struggle with their protein intake, especially when it comes to kind of getting into the higher numbers. So I think it just benefits a lot of people. Number 3, I'd get a multivitamin. This is almost just what I believe to be a bit of an insurance policy. So if you are maybe a little bit deficient in certain areas, if you get a good multivitamin, that's going to kind of help you. So you just make sure you're getting the right micronutrients. Number 4, I'd get vitamin D. The reason why I suggest this is that for most people, we don't get enough vitamin D, especially if you live in the UK, there's no real sunlight. So you want to make sure that you supplement with this, because this is actually very good for naturally increasing your testosterone levels as well if you're a guy. Number 5 would be omega-3s. I think that most people struggle when it comes to getting in the right amount of fatty acids. If you don't like salmon or you're not eating a huge amount of those type of foods, you're not going to probably hit the required amount. And in terms of actually making sure that we're optimizing things like muscle protein synthesis, our health in general, our hormones, having omega-3 and supplements omega-3 has been shown to do that. So really those are the biggest 5 I take. Electrolytes arguably would fall into there as well in terms of performance. Apart from that, guys, most supplements you don't need to worry about, you don't need to bother with. Save your money and start putting it into other areas that are actually going to move the needle forward. And number 5 would be that you have to eat clean 100% of the time. Again, I fell into the trap of this for such a long time. I remember doing cuts for holidays where I would not touch anything at all week, and I'd make sure that I was eating 100% clean foods, cutting out all the crap. And then I'd get to the weekend and I'd fall into like this cheat day trap, thinking that I'm allowed to have a cheat day, and I'd be so deprived that I just binge on so much food that I wouldn't get results because I try to be 100% clean all the time. Nobody can be 100% clean 24/7. Trust me, even I have to have, a little bit of chocolate in the evening. That for me is like something I really enjoy. I always have a little bit of dark chocolate, within my yogurt bowl. That makes me feel good. Normally I go back and even have a couple more chunks, but just day-to-day stuff like that. I still like to keep fun foods within my diet. I'm not 100% clean. I get to the weekends. Again, I factor in a few nice treats for myself too. I don't try to be 100% clean, because if I did try and be 100% clean food 24/7, cut out everything, cut out carbs, I would just fall off track. I binge and get to the weekend and I just end up being so deprived that I fall off. So that's a huge myth that you need to avoid. Most guys think that clean eating is what's required. I speak to guys all the time on calls and I ask them kind of what their nutrition is like, and they'll just tell me, oh, you know, I'm just eating clean at the moment, just chicken and rice and all this kind of thing. Come away from the bodybuilding mindset. Don't need chicken and rice 24/7. You don't need mince and sweet potato all the time. You can enjoy nice foods. You can still eat your favorite foods and get amazing results. So don't believe that myth. It's a myth that you have to stop believing. And here's a little bonus one for you as well, guys, that I've always found fascinating. Now, this isn't one that I fell for personally, but this is one that I know that a lot of people do fall for. And that's thinking that cardio is the best way to burn fat and that you just need to do cardio instead of doing weights. Now, the reason why this doesn't work is that cardio, yes, maybe across an hour compared to weights might burn you a few more calories, but in general, exercise does not contribute to that many calories burned across the day. Very, very small amount, like 5 to 10% of the calories. So you doing more cardio is not going to improve your fat loss results. Most of the fat loss comes down to your nutrition, what you eat, being in a calorie deficit. So you need to come away from thinking exercise in general is actually an intervention when it comes to fat loss. The reason why weights is so much more effective beyond just the aesthetics of actually having a good physique and having good shape and not looking skinny fat is that when we lift weights, we build muscle, we build our metabolism, we increase the amount of calories that we burn across the day. So when it comes to long-term fat loss, if you have more muscle and you have a faster metabolism, you burn more calories, you don't need to worry about doing loads of cardio because your body is accustomed, you know, you've got this fast biometabolism that means that you can actually get away with staying in shape and not putting in that much effort. Whereas if you're relying on cardio every day to burn loads of calories because your metabolism sucks, how long is that going to last for? It's not a long-term thing for most people. It's unsustainable. So weights is the absolute best method when it comes to longer term fat loss, building a great physique and making sure you get the results that you want to achieve. So in general, guys, these myths need to be avoided. There are tons more other myths that I could go into probably for another video, but these are probably the biggest 6 that I'd say hold a lot of people back. As I say, a lot of these I used to fall for myself, but getting educated, becoming a coach, getting into the fitness industry and working with thousands of clients has made me realize the reality to a lot of these things. Getting and staying in shape, it is way simpler than you think. And you'll see throughout my channel a lot of the kind of methods, strategies, and tips that I would give to you guys listening to this and looking to build a world-class physique. So as always, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the like button if you have. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for future videos, bell notifications so you're notified every time I post. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next video.